Hi, my name's Kevin Briggs. I'm an author, the author of Spiritual Consciousness, A Personal Journey. I'm also a co-author of Tap into Universal Energy. I'm going to be speaking today about some of my experiences and about my books. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you today. I'm sure many of you have not heard of experiences, and I intend to speak about that today. And then if there are any questions at the end, you will be able to contact me and we can discuss further. I'll start with my journey. It started when I was 3 years old. My mother had engaged a photographer to take some photographs for the family album. I was duly washed and had my hair brushed. And then the photographer arrived and I was taken and lifted up on the dining table. And from that elevated position, I could see not only the room from a different position, but I realized at that point I was conscious, and I was conscious again in a physical body. I remember relating that tale to my wife some years ago, and she said 3-year-olds don't talk about consciousness, and they're not aware of such things. Well, I was, and I did. That was my first encounter with consciousness itself. My second encounter would be, I would be 8 years old. I was taking a bath at home. I noticed a change in the vibrational frequency in the room. There was also a change in the temperature. I was always sensitive to the other vibrations that were around us as a child. And I picked up on this while I was having the bath. At that moment in time, two beings appeared in the bathroom. They were slightly elevated off the floor. They were both very attractive, one male, one female, both wearing blue, tight-fitting jumpsuit type garment. As I said, long blonde hair, deep blue eyes, and both very attractive. And they were speaking to one another telepathically, which I could understand. I was frightened to death, as you can imagine, as an 8-year-old, when two people just materialized in your bathroom. I know these beings now. I've interacted with them all my life. Their names are Art and Dee. Art being the male and Dee being the female. I remember some of the conversation to this day. Dee said to Art, "Is this the boy?" And Art replied, "Yes, this is the boy." And then Dee questioned him. She said, "Are you sure this is the boy? Look, he's frightened by our presence. He's small. He's uneducated." And she was correct. I was terrified, absolutely terrified. And Art replied, "Yes, this is a boy. I will guide him. I will teach him." There was some other conversation in that. And then after a few minutes, they left. I was so frightened. She was correct. I stayed in the bath. The water went cold. I was unable to get out of the bath. My mother came into the bathroom and asked me why I was still in the bath. I said that about the two beings that had materialized in the bathroom, and she said it was just my imagination. So we continued on with our evening, and that was the last I spoke to my mother about those two beings. However, I still have contact with them today, and I am now 66. So it's a lifelong contact with them of 58 years now. And I know my next encounter, I was only 9 years old. And again, I had some friends around to my home. We were playing in the afternoon. I remember it was a Sunday, and it was tea time, so it was ready for them to go home. They left. I showed them out the back door, and as I turned around, I could feel a vibrational frequency in the home. As I said, I'm sensitive to these things, so I went looking for where the energy was for the vibrational frequency. I looked in the kitchen. I went upstairs in the bedrooms. I went back down into the living room where the energy seemed to be the strongest, and I was drawn to the curtain, to the window. I looked behind the curtain, and there was an orb there. It was about 4 to 6 inches across. It was slightly vibrating. It was orangey yellow in colour, goldeny colour. There was no communication. It was just hovering there. And I was a little perturbed because I thought I'd probably invited it into the home, and I didn't at that time know what it was. And I thought, well, perhaps it'll leave when I go to bed this evening. It won't be there in the morning. So I went to bed at the end of the day, got up in the morning, and I knew straight away that the orb was still there. I went down to check, looked behind the curtain, and he was there. Again, still no communication. But then I had to go to school, so I went to school. I thought, oh, when I come home, the orb it'll have left now. So I got home, I opened the back door, and I knew instantly it was still in the home. I could feel that vibrational frequency. I went to look behind the curtain, and sure enough, it was still there. This went on till Friday. I came in from school on the Friday. I opened the back door, and I knew then that the orb had left. I went to check behind the curtain, and the orb was no longer there. Now, there was no direct communication with the orb at that time. However, I noticed almost immediately my psychic abilities had been enhanced no end, to where I could actually separate my conscious energy from my physical body. And I now know the orb was actually Ort. That was his pure conscious energy. And I suspect they did something to enhance my psychic abilities, because I already had them, but now I was able to travel outside of my body separately as pure conscious energy. And I would just use this, usually at the weekends, to go and visit my grandparents, who lived about 70 miles away. I did not know the full potential of it then, but I do now. So I would just, usually on a Sunday, I would relax, open my mind, separate my conscious energy, which would then travel over to my grandparents' house, which was about 70 miles away in Liverpool. I would then sit upstairs in the master bedroom. They had a dressing room. I would sit in that dressing room. I would look down through the opaque floor, and I would see them. My grandmother usually in the kitchen cooking Sunday lunch, and my grandfather either watching the TV or reading the newspaper. And it gave me great comfort to see them there. And I did this as a child most weekends, to go and visit them. As I say, I didn't understand the full potential of this ability at that time, but it was a convenient way of going to visit my grandparents, I would say. I know that I always thought at the time, what would they see if they came upstairs? And I know the answer to that now. They would have seen a orange, golden coloured orb, 4 to 6 inches across, slightly vibrating. That would have been my pure conscious energy, separated from my physical. I know that now. I did not know that then. I continued to visit them this way right throughout my childhood. And at that time, I thought it was normal. I thought everybody had these abilities, just another one of our senses, like touch, seeing, sight, smell, and out-of-body travelling. Just all normal to me. And it wasn't until I think I got a bit older that I tried to find others like me. And I have found others like me now. However, my next encounter, I would be 14. And at 14, I had a paper round. And that paper round, I left every morning about 7 o'clock. And as I left the home, a UFO would appear directly above the home. And then a second UFO would appear from a different direction and join the first one. And the two of them would follow me around the paper round until I'd finished. And then usually one would go straight up into space, and the other one would go back the way it come from. I was a little paranoid at one point. I thought they were following me, and I think they were now, obviously. But I know on one occasion, I could always feel, again, those vibrational frequencies, that there was someone there behind the hedge, someone there behind the wall, watching me, following me, as it were, say, becoming a little paranoid. So on one occasion, I asked them to show themselves. I said, I know you're there. Can you show yourselves? And two small beings, two small grey beings, about the size of me, walked out from behind the hedge. And I wasn't frightened by them. I just accepted them. And I asked, what do they want? And they said there was a group of people that would like to see me. And I said, well, I'm busy doing my paper round. I've got my paper round to finish. And then I've got to go to school. They said, well, you can finish your paper round, and then we will, if you come with us to meet these people, we will get you back in time for school. So I agreed. I actually agreed. So I finished my paper round, and I went with them. And we went up into a craft, a very large craft, a huge craft with a huge hangar. We exited the craft, and there were many other crafts in there. And there was one guy working on a craft, a small grey type being, and he waved at me. And so I waved back, just being polite. And I didn't know who he was, but I wasn't frightened by the experience. Anyway, I was led down into an amphitheatre. And this amphitheatre was full of people, all different species. And at the front of the amphitheatre were 8 beings sat there. Alt and D were 2 of them, my guides, my lifelong guides. And there were 6 others. There were 8 in total. Their names are Alt, D, Anna, Zark, Ra, Tag, Chica, and Orla. I went onto the stage at the front. I was greeted by them all individually. I was introduced to them all individually. And I was okay with that until I got to Chica. And I was a little apprehensive then. He is like a large grasshopper, a mantis type being. And that did perturb me a little bit. And one of the other beings there came and comforted me and put her arm around me. She felt that I was uneasy with her. Anyway, I thought I was just there as a human specimen, just to be paraded. And all the audience were just there to see the show, as it were. I realise that's not the case now. What that was a meeting of this group of 8, this council of 8. And the other people in the audience were the delegates, just like we would have, say, at our United Nations or some of our government assemblies, are very similar to that. I didn't know that as a child. I've come to learn that over the years with the interactions that I've had. Anyway, we finished with the introductions, and I was escorted to leave back to the hangar where I got in the craft, and they took me back home and dropped me off at home. I was in time to have some breakfast. I had my breakfast and then set off to school, and I got to school on time. So that was quite an experience for me. But I've been in contact with this group of 8 beings now all my life, and still in contact with them, as I say. So more and more so over the past few years. I know my next experience, I'd be about 17, 18. I've already mentioned that I was trying to find other people that had these experiences. I asked my friends, my families, and I would ask in a third party. I would say, I've got a friend of mine who travels outside of his body. He separates his conscious energy from his physical. Do you know anybody that does that? And they all replied, no, he must be imagining it or delusional or whatever. So at that point, I'll say again at 17, 18, I thought, well, I need more information. I know there's much more out there than we're being told or taught. I'll ask my guides. I'll ask Ort and D. In fact, I asked Ort. I went to bed one evening. I relaxed. I opened my mind. I asked Ort to come and show me some more, to give me some more information. He came. He took hold of my hand, and we left through the bedroom window. We flew around the subdivision. I came back. I could see my body asleep. I looked down at my body. I was fast asleep. And then I re-entered my body. And the following morning I woke up and I thought, that was cool. I wasn't certain whether it was a dream or not, or whether it was real. So the following night I thought I would do the same. So I relaxed. I opened my mind. I held my hand out and asked Ort to come and show me some more. And he came, took hold of my hand, and we left through the window. This time we went further. We went down into Leeds city centre where I lived at the time. And we flew over the town hall, the hospital, the university where I worked at the time. And then we came back into my apartment and I looked down again. I could see my body. I was fast asleep. I went back into my body. I woke up that second morning and I thought, wow, that's really cool. But I'm still not certain whether I'm sleepwalking, whether I'm dreaming. So I thought I would try it again for the third evening. I was a little apprehensive about going out through the window because I was 3 stories up when it was concrete pavement below, and I still wasn't certain whether it was real, or sleepwalking or what. So I did the same routine again on the third evening. I relaxed, I opened my mind, I asked Ort to come and show me some more. He came, he took hold of my hand, I left my body, I looked down, I could see myself asleep, and I said to Ort, I said, can we please go out through the roof this evening, because I'm not happy going out through the window. I'm still not certain, excuse me, whether I'm sleepwalking, dreaming or what, but I'm apprehensive about going out through the window. So I said, yes, we can go out through the roof. So we went out through the roof and we went up and up and up and flew around and came back again. And this continued for quite a while until I got used to doing it. And then on one occasion, Hawk came to me and said, "Kevin, I'm going to take you somewhere special tonight. Are you prepared to go with me?" I said, "Yes, I'll go anywhere you want to go." So I held his hand. I looked down, I could see my body asleep. And we left. We went straight up through the roof. On this occasion, we just kept going and going and going. And I know now that we went into a higher dimension. As we climbed and climbed and climbed, I could see the earth getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And then we took what I could describe as a right-hand turn, and we went into this higher dimension. As we entered that dimension, there were a line of 30 people there. At the front of the line was my deceased father. He was stood up, he was tall. I'd never seen him standing before because from when I was born, he was always in a wheelchair. So he was stood up straight, he was 6 foot tall, he was beaming face, and the love I felt from the whole group was tremendous. And he greeted me and said, "Kevin, I'm going to introduce you to your family members, going back over 300 years. So we went down the line, I was introduced to each one, and then when we got halfway down the line, instead of seeing a physical person, there was an orb, the orange, yellow in colour, slightly vibrating, about 4 to 6 inches across probably, but I could still see their physical. They gave me the physical, or the last physical, or they showed me the last physical that they had. And we still communicated by telepathy, and I went down the line doing that. And the love that emanated from these people, my family, my deceased family, although I know that they're not deceased, their physical dies, but they live at these higher vibrational frequencies as conscious energy, pure energy. And I would go and visit them on many occasions. And I got so confident and good with it that I was able to do it on my own. And I didn't need Hawk to go and travel to see my deceased family members. And I did this for 2 years. And as I say, the feeling of love was just absolutely tremendous. But every time I said I had to go, I had to leave, they tried to get me to stay with them, to persuade me to stay. And as much as I liked being there with them, I was enjoying my physical at the time. And I said, "No, if I stay with you, my physical will die, I'm sure." And I'm enjoying my physical. I like being down in the third dimension, in the lower vibrational frequencies, shall we say. And anyway, I left on that occasion. And then the following day at work, I remember it was an afternoon, I thought, I don't think I'll go and visit them anymore. I'm finding it more and more difficult to get back. They want me to stay with them. But I will go this evening and speak to them and let them know, rather than just not turning up ever again. So on that evening, again, I relaxed, I opened my mind, I travelled to the higher dimension, to the higher frequencies, and I met with them. Again, the feeling of love was just tremendous, as you would get with any family gathering. Only mine were deceased. It was just amazing, absolutely amazing. And I explained to them that I wouldn't be coming back to visit them, as I was finding it difficult to get back into my body. But I explained that I know that you are here. If I need your help, you are here to assist me. And when my physical does pass and does die, then I will come back and rejoin the family. And this time I will stay. So I left, and I never went back to see them again. But as I say, I do know they're there. I still communicate with some of my deceased families individually from time to time. And I do get messages from friends and families, deceased relatives from time to time. And I do convey the messages. So all quite fascinating, really, from a perspective of being taught by these higher conscious beings. I think the next stage would be my next encounter. I was a bit older then, probably about 32, and I'd just done a quick changeover shift at work. I got home at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was extremely tired. When I did these quick changeover shifts, I would usually go to bed for a couple of hours and then relax until my wife came home from work. On this occasion, I got into bed, and a shadow person came through the door and looked at me and beckoned me. And that's most unusual, because I've seen shadow people all my life, but they don't usually look at you. They usually hide behind the sofa, hide behind a closet or something, and you just see them fleetingly. But this one looked at me directly and beckoned me, actually beckoned me. And I said, no, go away, I'm tired, come back later. And he left, and he came back a few minutes later, and he looked at me directly in the eye and beckoned me again. And I said, no, go away, I'm tired, I'm not interested, come back later. Anyway, he came back for a third time. And I thought, well, you're so persistent, you obviously want to show me something. So I got up, I didn't get dressed. He went back through the door. I opened the door onto the landing, and there was a beam of light there from the floor to the ceiling. Now, I usually describe this as like if anybody's watched Star Trek, when they beam people down to the planet, it was just like that from the floor to ceiling. And I thought, well, you've gone through all this trouble to get me to come out and have a look at this. So I stepped into the beam of light. And immediately I felt euphoric, total euphoria. It was just amazing, absolutely amazing. I was no longer tired. I was full of energy and euphoric, just euphoric. And then this voice said to me, I am your father. You are your father's son. The beam stayed a little bit longer, and then it disappeared from the ceiling and the floor sequentially and finished disappearing in my stomach area. And again, I say, I felt euphoric. Initially, I thought it was my deceased father communicating with me in this particular method. I'd had this modality of contact before. I found out later that it was actually the lead counsel of the group of 8 that I contact with or communicate with. His name is Ra. He's an Anunnaki. He's very old. And I confirmed this at a later date with him when I was having some communication with him. So just another one of my experiences. And another thing that I'm able to do is travel on the astral plane, which is just amazing. I just do it for pleasure. And on one occasion, I'm traveling outside of my body, nothing unusual for me at all, just enjoying the freedom without the encumbrance of a physical. And then a craft comes alongside me. Inside the craft are Orton D. They asked me to enter the craft. I travel into the craft. I go through the skin. The skin is conscious. I feel its conscious energy. And they say they've got a message for me that they want me to give to someone else. Would I convey the message? I said, yes, I would. So they gave me the message, and I left. I did convey the message. I was in a bit of a dilemma, really. I wasn't certain whether to do it or not, but I did. Anyway, I did ask them afterwards, what was the reason for me conveying the message? And they said, we wanted to see if you would convey a message. And it was quite interesting, actually, because when they asked me to convey the message, I said, who shall I say the message is from? Because if I say Orton D, he won't have a clue who they are. They said, tell him we're the light beings. I hadn't heard that term before. They've always referred to themselves as Orton D. So I did. I conveyed that with the message. And this particular person, he responded by email, and he sent me a photograph of a light being he had taken while out in the field doing some research. So that was just amazing, really. So again, just another modality of contact. But I did ask them while I was on the craft, and I used to meet them there fairly regular. I said, let me see if I understand this. We are traveling on the astral plane, which is a dimension between dimensions, as it were. And we're on a conscious craft that you've created. And I see you as 2 conscious energy orbs. How do you see me? They said, we see you exactly the same as a conscious energy orb. So I said, let me explain again. So the 3 of us are traveling on the astral plane in a conscious craft as pure conscious energy orbs. I said, yes, that's correct. And this is what they've done with me all my life. They give me experiences. They don't sit me down in a classroom. They just give me experiences. Now, I wouldn't have spoken out about any of this. It was a few years ago, about 2 or 3 years ago now. I'm at home, in the middle of the night. I get up to go to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom, I come back, I get back into bed, and I'm just about to snuggle down into bed when there's a bright light outside the bedroom window. The bright light comes in through the window, lights up the whole bedroom like a myriad of butterflies. But it was just pure white light. And then Orton D materialized at the bottom of the bed. After pleasantries, because I'm used to seeing them now after all these years, I asked what was the reason for their visit. And they said, Kevin, we want you to talk about your interactions with us, your lifelong interactions. We want you to write a book. In fact, you will write 2 books, Kevin, and we will give you some information to be included in the books, which they did. So I said to them, I don't mind talking about my interactions, but I'm not a writer. And that's when they said that they will continue to guide me. They will continue to teach me and will give me some more information to be included in the book, as I've already said they did. In fact, the books here, I do have it next to me. It was Spiritual Consciousness, A Personal Journey. Kevin Briggs at the bottom there. Now, I wouldn't have written that, sorry. I did not speak about my interactions with anybody apart from my wife and my brother. But now they've asked me to do that. I do talk and I do speak to many groups. But they're here, they're benevolent, they are here to help us evolve. I know this conference is about wellness and healing, so perhaps I can share a healing example that they gave me. I know there's a book called Beyond UFOs by Ray Hernandez, and in that there's a chapter written by Dr. Joseph Briggs, and that chapter is many healings that have been done by these ETs, these higher conscious beings. Dr. Joseph Briggs did all the research on it, interviewed all the people, and it's a great chapter. And as we're talking about wellness, health and happiness, that would be a good book to buy and read that particular chapter if you're interested. One of my particular healings, I had 2 growths on my left elbow, and I had another growth on my right wrist. I checked out on the internet what possibly they could be, and it looked like melanomas, I thought. And they started growing and getting darker and changing colour. I thought, well, I better go and see about having these removed, going to the doctors. I tried to heal them myself. I've healed many things myself if I get slightly ill. So I tried to heal it myself, but I was unable to. So I decided, well, I'll have to go and get the doctor to have a look at these. So that night I went to bed, I relaxed, I opened my mind. I asked Orton D and the group of 8 ETs, can you heal me of these growths, these 2 big growths on my left elbow and the one on my right wrist? And I said, if you don't heal them and remove them this evening, then I will have to make an appointment to go to see the doctor tomorrow. So I went to bed. I woke up in the morning, and lo and behold, the 2 large growths on my left elbow had disappeared completely. No marks, no nothing. The growth on my right wrist had disappeared, but there was a red ring around the circumference of where it had been. And then that red ring disappeared within the day. So I have my own healing. These beings are benevolent. They are higher conscious beings. They tell me I'm part of their extended family. And I'm sure we all have these. They are very concerned about the health and wealth of our planet. And since we are discussing that, they tell us that we are all connected by consciousness. The planet itself is consciousness. All the animals, the plants, the trees, even the rocks have conscious energy. Just amazing, really. So anyway, they are very concerned about the pollution we have at the moment. They're very concerned about the, particularly Fukushima, they tell me, in relation to the radiation that's around the plant and which has now spread into the Pacific Ocean and right across to the Californian coast. They say that they have technologies that can help us remove this radiation and help with the pollution of our planet and help to make the more sustainable, to keep the planet healthy, so we stay healthy. But they wish to meet with our government's representatives, and then they will share these technologies. At the moment, our governments are not wanting to do that. Our governments know that our ET extended families are here amongst us. They've known for decades, for 60, 70 years, but they keep the truth hidden from us for, I'm sure, their own reasons. But now, really, I think is a time to, our society is crumbling at the moment. And I suspect we can co-create a new society, a society we desire for our children, a society we desire for our future generations. And I believe this society we will co-create with our ET extended families to create that society that will include them. So exciting times ahead. for humanity. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with everybody today. My email details and website will be posted. So if you have any questions, if you want to contact me, you can do that. And I'd like to thank Priscilla for inviting me here. I'm sure it's not a topic that most of you have heard of. I'm sure there are many that don't even know about the ET engagement of our planet. Perhaps this will assist with your knowledge and learning about the subject. And there are many of us now who are speaking out. I'm not alone in this. I've got a couple of friends, Terry Lovelace, Seb Tock. They're both experiencers like myself from a young age, and they are speaking out as well. So it's a fascinating time, an interesting time for humanity, for our species. So thank you very much. I do appreciate you listening to me. Thank you. Bye-bye.